But the moment has come in Cameroon where everything hangs in the balance. A fragile tapestry of trust, fear and expectation stretch stiff, ready to snap. Escalating says it has begun the summarization of results. The Constitutional Council sits poised to proclaim a winner. Yet beneath this procedural modesty lies a convulsion festering, a populace that is watching, boiling under a long history of rigged elections, of bodies meant to ensure fairness instead of becoming instruments of power. This time, the stakes are unbearable. They are very, very high. The regime's safety net may fray. The regime's officials may find no sanctuary, no escape, no impunity anymore. We are not merely spectators of another election in Cameroon. We are witnessing, ladies and gentlemen, or witnesses to a seismic clash of legitimacy. The officials at Escalating and the Constitutional Council have long been cocooned in the regime's protection, safeguarded by fear, by force, and by apathy. They have certified outcomes in favor of the president's camp with no credible challenge, no investigation, and no accountability for years. The machinery has run smoothly, but only because dissent has been suffocated and the people's anger dispersed. But that custody of silence is now broken. The citizens know the fraud, and they feel the weight of it too. And now they are saying, enough, enough. This time, even with regime shields and generals at their side, the Escalating and the Constitutional Council cannot assume that obedience will be given. The army is no more a column. Divisions run deep between orders and conscience, between duty and self-preservation. If orders come to protect fraudulent outcomes, there may be a refuser. If violence is ordered to suppress protests, some officers will balk. The connective tissue that once made state protection reliable is now frayed by fear. Fear of retribution, of moral guilt, and of becoming targets themselves. Because it is no longer just about who wins the presidency in Cameroon. It is about who bears the weight of a nation's rage. Top ministers, sensing the gathering storm, are doing what those disconnected from reality often do. They are withdrawing. They are quickly running out of the country, ferrying families abroad, securing foreign safe havens, signaling that they anticipate danger, that they suspect betrayal, that they know consequences may come. They are sending a primal message to those in Escalating and those on the Constitutional Council. If you oppose the will of the people, they say, if you certify deceit, there may be no shield left to protect you. Even power has its limits. Even power must reckon with moral gravity and popular wrath. Opposition leader Isa Chiroma has taken a stand unlike anything seen before in Cameroon's recent political landscape. He is not simply rejecting the regime's processes. He is rejecting their legitimacy outright, refusing to file petitions with the Constitutional Council. Because How can one pour water into a vessel known to be cracked or known to be leaking? Because recognition of that body under these terms gives it value and gives it power. Chiroma insists the people's verdict must be honored. He is invoking a principle that many have whispered, that an election without integrity is no election at all. Behind him is not just the North, not just a region long disenfranchised. Behind him is the country, the urban as well as the rural, the young as well as the old, in markets, in villages, in the cafes of Douala, and in the streets of Yaoundé. The hunger is universal for truth, for fairness, for being seen not as a perpetual audience, but as the authors of their own fate. And this hunger has teeth too. It breeds courage. It asks, if not now, when? If not this, then what? There are voices among the people warning of violence, of defense by law or by guns. Such declarations are dangerous, yes, but also understandable. When institutions fail so systematically, when the ballot becomes a farce, when no recourse is seen, desperation is born. This is the crucible into which Escalating and the Constitutional Council now step. The question they face is simple, but its implications are vast. Do you follow the script written decades ago, that is, to read the result, or do you produce the record, count every vote as polled, publish precinct by precinct, allow transparency, and allow accountability? That is a question to Escalating and the Constitutional Council. If they choose the former, a familiar pact of fraud, then they choose chaos. They choose earned contempt. They choose to ignite the wrath of a people who know they have been cheated and carry their own memory of how it was done. They choose to betray any last shred of faith that might have been left. Their homes, their families, their reputations will not be spared, because when a nation decides that its vote is sacred, then those who violate that sacredness become enemies, not only of the people, but of history. If they choose the latter, that is truth, openness, allowing the people's voice to stand, then there is hope. Not automatic peace, but a chance for legitimacy. A chance to be remembered, not as functionaries of fraud, but as the moment when the country stepped back from the brink. If results are published as seen from polling station to polling station, made publicly available, cross-checked, proclaimed openly, then even critics can see the integrity or flaws, the fraud or the truth. Even those opposed to Chiroma, who have grounds for respecting the process that would diminish the chaos, preserve order, allow for legal challenge, allow for national and international observers to speak with clarity. To do the right thing, ladies and gentlemen, Escalating, the Constitutional Council, and indeed any official with a splinter of conscience must recognize the peril of doing anything else. The regime's protection will no longer suffice. The army may no longer follow orders blindly. The citizenry is no longer cowed. Silence has become dangerous. The world is watching. The cameras, the social media, the mobile phones, they make liars visible. They make frauds public. There is also the question of external legitimacy here. What message will Cameroon send to the rest of Africa and to the world? That elections are rituals of lying, that votes are bought, that processes are manipulated, or that a nation can, at last, choose truth over terror. Once rigged outcomes are proclaimed, foreign governments, donors, organizations will watch whether they are willing to accept the result. Sanctions, diplomatic isolation, internal unrest, these aren't empty threats. The economic costs, the reputational costs, they are all heavy. They are heavy. And the inner cost, the cost to the soul of the nation, it is heavier still. Chiruma's refusal to recognize any outcome that does not reflect the people's will is also a dangerous gamble, but perhaps the necessary one. The alternative is a slow bleed. Legitimacy eroded, protest crushed, instability normalized. This fight is no longer only about regime survival. It is about whether Cameroon remains a nation bound by law or becomes a territory ruled by force alone, visible in tyranny, invisible in justice. What must happen is clear. Immediate publication of tally sheets from every polling station, public display of tallied results as witnessed on the ground, spaces for citizen observation, transparency so undeniable that even those predisposed to doubt cannot ignore what is seen. The Constitutional Council must not unsee what has been recorded by communities across the country. The counts must not be summary abstracts manipulated behind closed doors. They must be open books, laid bare to light. This moment demands moral courage, not political calculation. It demands that those with power understand the protection they have enjoyed comes from public consent, however buried. Once consent is withdrawn, force destroys all a brick and bone. It does not save authority. They must weigh what they gain by rigging an election, a false victory, against what they lose. The safety, the respect, the possibility of even remote legitimacy. Cameroon sits on a knife edge. One decision, ladies and gentlemen, to hide the truth could set a conflagration that will consume homes and trust alike. Another decision, to let the people's voice resound, could open a path towards peace, restoration, even renewal too. It will not erase the past. It will not heal every wound, but it will prevent more. So here is the talking point, spoken as plainly as a rumble of drums in the villages, as palpable as anger in Yaoundé streets. If the authorities proceed to proclaim a fraudulent result, even under the guise of legal process, even from institutions they have long misused, they are declaring war on the people. They are taking their own lives. That is, reputations, safety, legitimacy, and offering nothing in return but a fragile, false peace. But if they instead open the windows, let in the light, ladies and gentlemen, count and declare what the voters saw, they can redeem not only this moment, but themselves too. Let Cameroon see the truth, not just hear the proclamation.